Northern Illinois finished their season 8-5, and Coach Hammock is kind enough to join us once again right now on the Zach Gelb Show. Coach, appreciate the time. Thanks so much for it. How you been?
Hey, I've been good. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. So take me back to September 7th. You guys walk into South Bend. You pull off that thrilling 2-point victory, 16-14. All these months later, what's still the memory, and how do you kind of explain how your team was able to do that day?
Well, the biggest memory is how hard our guys played. They wasn't affected by the environment or the team. They went out there and played the team in front of them and competed as hard as they can compete for 4 quarters. And we were able to come out with a victory. And you look at that game, 4 months later and say how Notre Dame is playing, how the season has progressed. At that time and on that particular day, we found a way to be the better team.
Are you surprised at what Notre Dame has done since then? That they haven't lost, and now if they win on Monday night, they'll be national champions.
I'm not surprised from a talent standpoint. I'm surprised with all the adversity that they've had to deal with over the season with injuries. The team that they're playing now is a lot different than the team that we played on September 7th. And for them to continue to play good football week in and week out, I think that speaks volumes to Coach Freeman, his staff, and the players. They've been able to connect and bind and find a way to overcome, despite the injuries, despite that loss on week 2. And what a great opportunity, and what an embodiment of the game of football. Guys coming together, believing in one another, and getting the job done.
Thomas Hammock here with us, the head football coach at NIU. I remember hearing the story and talking about it with you, that after that game, you actually reached out to Marcus Freeman and said, hey, let's connect. There's some things that I saw that could actually help you maybe the rest of the way. Usually you don't hear a coach do that, especially in season. Why did you elect to do that after what was such a monumental victory for not only you, but your program?
Well, I think, first of all, I think that happens all the time, whether it's head coach to head coach or assistant coach to assistant coach. The thing that struck me was how Coach Freeman embraced me before the game, after the game, and how much respect he showed to me. Because obviously the head coach at Notre Dame carry a lot of prestige. And for him to treat me as a peer before the game and after the game, I wanted to, give back and give him an opportunity to, reach the levels that he wanted to reach based on what we saw. So I'm not, sure how much it affected their season or the different outcomes. I think that's really a testament of his leadership, but definitely wanted to at least help him out, given the way that he treated me, because there was no reason for him to treat me with the amount of respect that he did.
What did you tell him? If you give us basically like a general gist, what was part of the conversation?
Well, I think anytime, you talk to coaches, is sometimes tendencies of what you saw, different looks of what you saw. Obviously, they was breaking in a new coordinator and a new quarterback. And so for us, we felt like they had to put everything into that Texas A&M game the week before. And so a lot of things, kind of carried over. We studied a lot of LSU film going into that particular game. And then tendencies from the first game we were able to see. And defensively, they have a phenomenal defense. And so we had a couple things from an alignment standpoint, things that they were giving away, whether it was a blitz or different line stunts that we tried to at least talk about, when I had a chance to speak to him.
Yeah, and you look at Notre Dame's season, right? They've made a lot of plays on special teams. They did up against your football team, and their defense is one of the best in the country, is led by Xavier Watts. The question was always going to be with Notre Dame on the offensive side of the ball, what were they going to turn into? They have 2 really good running backs. Jeremiah Love could be a Heisman Trophy candidate next year, but it's always a question on the quarterback. And they were bringing in Riley Leonard, who had a lot of football played at Duke, in and out of the lineup. But at that point, it was only his second start at Notre Dame. How have you kind of seen from afar, with maybe watching some of these college football playoff games, how Riley Leonard was able to grow throughout the season from the quarterback that you saw?
Yeah, I think, the first week they played Texas A&M, offensively, it was whatever it takes to win the game. I think going into our game, they tried to feature the pass a little bit more. And we have excellent corners. We're excellent in defensive pass game structure. And so that wasn't going to be a good recipe. Obviously, they got 2 tremendous running backs and a quarterback that can affect you in the quarterback run game. but they chose to pass a little bit more, and I thought that was to our benefit.
Yeah, and we know Ohio State, they have a tremendous amount of playmakers on that defensive side of the ball. I'm fascinated to see that speed and how much that Notre Dame just likes to line it up and run, whether it's from their running backs or from their quarterback, is going to face off up against what is an excellent defense that was on full display up against Texas, as you saw Ohio State make that big play towards the goal line.
Well, I think it's certainly a matchup of strength versus strength. Notre Dame's ability to run the football, to add the quarterback in the run game, control the clock, try to control the line of scrimmage. You have to figure out a way to keep Ohio State's offense off the field because they are dynamic and explosive. So I think it's going to be a tremendous game. I think stylistically, it's two different type of opponents, and I'm anxious to watch the game.
Yeah, and also, I'm sure you could appreciate this from a coaching standpoint, and you've seen a lot of great players. And for the last few years, all we did when we talked about Ohio State with their wide receiving room was talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. and how sensational of a pro he was going to be. Now the conversation's all about Jeremiah Smith, and I didn't think I'd be able to say that Jeremiah Smith's better than Marvin Harrison Jr., but what he's been able to do in his freshman season, holy smokes, Coach, that's a real special player.
It's unbelievable. When you watch him, he doesn't look as fast as he's playing, but he has to be extremely fast because he's getting behind defenders. He's taking short completions and making them touchdowns. To me, that's going to be the matchup of the game. Notre Dame loves to play man coverage, and to play man coverage on some of those receivers that Ohio State has, to me, is going to determine who wins the game.
Talking to Coach Thomas Hammock, for your team to do what they did back in week 2, that's the way that people are going to remember this squad. But you had a lot of football after that. You finished the year off 8-5. You win a bowl game. Just how do you kind of look back at your season, and how would you describe the type of year that your program had?
Well, obviously, beating Notre Dame was the biggest win in program history. And then we have to fight for consistency. And so we play some one-possession games and turn the ball over in some of those games. We play cleaner from a turnover margin perspective. I think our season would have been drastically different and drastically more improved. But for us, this is a learning experience, right? You win a big game like that. How do you carry that momentum throughout the season? And I'm excited about the foundation that we have, the players in the program, that we can learn from all these experiences we dealt with this year and be better next year. And
also, Coach, you gave one of the best interviews ever after you were able to win the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, and you talked about when they were dumping all those fries on you, and you said it was the best dump of your career. That was an all-time moment on social media, if I may say so.
Yes, they conveniently deleted out the question that she posed to me. Her question was, how was it being dumped with those French fries? And obviously, I proceeded to say that was the best dump of my career. Which, when you cut it out in those terms, right? That obviously goes viral. But that was a tremendous game, tremendous atmosphere. The Idaho Bowl does a fantastic job, and to have those French fries dumped on you, I would certainly like to have that again.
Were you more recognized for beating Notre Dame or for saying what you said after the bowl game? Just wondering.
Well, I definitely think Notre Dame, the emotion of that game, but certainly this Idaho Bowl has taken on a life of its own.
It's got to be cool, though, because I don't usually think about it this way, but I'm sure you'll tune in Monday night and watch the national championship game. They like to recap both those teams' season. Your program's going to be mentioned a lot, I would have to imagine, on Monday night.
No, it has given us tremendous recruiting momentum. When they talk about your team in comparison to Notre Dame, there's a lot of kids interested in having those type of opportunities to be on that type of stage and win those type of games. So we've had a lot of recruiting momentum, from that game, and hopefully we can build upon the season that we had, winning 2 bowl games in a row. We won a championship in 21 and put it all together in the 2025 season.
Now, before we let you run, Coach Thomas Hammock, you talked about the leadership that Marcus Freeman has displayed after losing to your program, the conversation, and even the respect he showed you before the game and then afterwards, and they haven't lost the game since. On the other side, right, you want to talk about overcoming adversity. That's the theme to me heading into this national championship game, because a little over a month ago, everyone was laughing at Ohio State. Oh, they lost to Michigan 4 years in a row. And since then, we have seen a team that we all knew was really good and had a lot of potential really come together and rally together. Now they're 60 minutes away from winning it all. How about the leadership and what you've seen from afar with Ohio State and what they've been able to do through adversity?
Yeah, to me, as a football coach, you always look for those moments of coaches dealing with adversity and overcoming. Some of the criticism that Ryan Day gets as a head coach is completely unfair, in my opinion. I think his winning percentage is probably one of the best in the country. And just because he hasn't beat Michigan does not mean take away from what he's built that program to be. That program is a juggernaut. They can play with anybody in the country. Obviously, I'm rooting for Notre Dame because we played them, but I wouldn't be mad either way with the outcome because I think Ryan Day is a tremendous coach, and what a perfect way to say, I guess I'm not that bad of a coach anyway by winning a national championship. So, I know he's dealing with a lot of different pressures at Ohio State, but I think that's unfair to him. I think he's built a phenomenal program, one that a lot of people are trying to emulate and can only hope for a fraction of the success that he's having.
If Ryan Day hit you up and said, Coach, you're the only one that's been able to beat these guys this year, what advice would you give me? What would you say to him?
I would say, you know what? You have a lot of film over the course of the season to watch Notre Dame. And if you can't figure it out with, 14, 15 games of information, then you don't deserve to win.
I sense you want to be the only coach in the country to hand the national champion a loss this year, right? That's what I sense.
I think that would go down in history.
That'd be pretty cool. Hey, by the way, I have to apologize. As a Met fan, my team took Juan Soto from your Yankees. I remember you being a big Yankee fan, right?
Hey, listen, you know what? I would tell anybody, that has young kids, get them to play baseball. The amount of money that they paying these guys in baseball, I mean, it's almost unheard of. So that one hurt a little bit. I was hoping the Yankees, win the World Series. We fell a little bit short, but it's always next year. But that guy's going to be hard to replace.
Well, Coach, best of luck moving forward. Really appreciate your time throughout the season, and thanks for doing this.
Thank you, and go Huskies.